Hello, and welcome to Here's the Thing with Robbie and Jose, where we explore relationships through a male and female perspective. With me, as always, is the lovely Robbie.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Having fun.
Yay.
So, so today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We usually talk about romantic relationships, right? But a relationship doesn't necessarily have to be romantic, right? There's
Right.
all kinds of different relationships that one has.
Technically, you have a relationship with like your mailman.
I don't think I've ever seen my mail
Oh, really?
man, person, whatever. Well, they don't go up to the house anymore. They just drive up and drop off the stuff.
My mailman walks the streets.
Yeah, so yours, the
so
way
when
your
I'm like
house is-
walking and
Yeah, ours don't walk. They have the mailboxes right at the edge of the street.
Yeah.
So they just drive up, throw it in there, and keep it moving.
Oh, well then you don't have a
I do not
relationship
have
with
a
your mailman.
relationship, no. Or the people that pick up the garbage. I don't know those.
Well, I don't talk to those guys
Yeah,
because they
well-
always leave my thing in the alley, like on the ground.
Well, maybe if you talk to him, they'd pick it up and put it closer. I don't know. You know what my son used to do on hot days? He used to go out there and give them water. And I didn't know that until afterwards. Like he would, as soon as he would hear them, it was during the summer, and he would hear them coming, he would run out there because he knew it was hot, and he would go out there and give them bottles of water. And I was always wondering where the bottles of water were going. I was like, oh, they must be thirsty. But he was giving away
You
to
have like the best kids.
He was pretty cool, and I don't know what got into him or where he got it. I never did ask him. I just saw that he did it, and I was like, oh, okay, we'll
That's
keep
so
on.
He had a relationship with the garbage man.
Yeah, I mean, I think he just, he felt bad. It's like they're out there and they have to be around stinky
That's
stuff.
so
and
sweet.
hot and whatnot. But yeah, so, and we're talking about a movie. I was watching The Adventures of Babysitting, which I just found out you've never seen or heard of.
Never.
How
Who's
do you-
in it? Who's the main person?
Elizabeth Shue.
Okay. I don't. Never
Still.
heard of it. Nope.
She's, so she's a babysitter.
And
she's-
it's the adventures of her.
Yeah. Like I, and I watched it a little bit, but it's I was kind of in and out. But I do remember the movie, and they actually do goes on because she's babysitting. Somebody gets in trouble, or she has a party to go to, like she's going through something, and instead she just brings the kids along. So the parents are out and about at dinner, or I forgot where they were, and she just takes them like through New York and that whole thing. But anyways, it started. It's a cult classic. It really is. And the one little girl, she was a fan of Thor. So that was the first time I had ever heard of Thor, because she had on the hat. And like now, he's popular now because of the Marvel movies. But back then, it was 80s, and it wasn't a widely known.
I don't know anything about Thor. I don't even know what it looks like.
Thor?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You don't watch
Yeah, I don't.
regular movies. Well, Thor, maybe this is going to turn into a different podcast now. Thor is...
Movies I haven't seen.
Well, Thor was a mythical god with Odin, and anywho, they turned him into a comic book character.
Oh,
Thor.
okay.
Wow. So the year now is 2022, just so that we're clear. And you still haven't, okay. But let's move on. So it got me thinking about siblings, brothers and sisters, and that whole relationship and dynamic. And so for me, I'm fortunate enough that I have 4 siblings, right? And so I have 2 older sisters, so I know what it's like to be a little brother. And then I have a younger brother, so I know what it's like to be an older brother. Then I also to a brother, and then I had a younger sister as well. So I know what it's like to have a little sister, older sister, and I was the middle child. I'm a complex guy, just
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I have a relationship with all of them, and they're all different.
Yeah.
Especially when we were little. When we were little, because we were latchkey kids, right? And my sisters took care of me while my mom was off at work. They became somewhat like surrogate parents or whatever.
Yeah.
But they were still young.
Your surrogate parent says you can have marshmallow fluff for dinner.
Yeah, it was interesting because this was before the internet and tablets and video game and TV, and we didn't have money to have like cable TV or anything like that.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't know what we did.
Well, I'll tell you, they would get bored and they would figure out ways to torture me. Like they would. One time I remember they were on top of the stairs and they wanted to see what it was like for me to tumble down the stairs. Other times, they did that thing where somebody would hold on to my arms and then the other person would hold on to my legs and they
And they
would
swing
swing me,
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then throw me. They
Uh-huh.
wanted to see what that was like too. So
Mm.
I was very small, but they did that quite a bit.
Yeah, my brother did that to me one time. All I remember is crashing into the TV stand because he let go of my arms. But
And as little kids, we trust our older
yeah,
siblings,
because
and
they're
we're
like they
like,
know best.
yeah, they're like, okay, sure, this doesn't feel safe, but it's my older bro or my older sister telling me to
Mm,
do it. But and they would torture each other too.
mm,
I remember my older sister used to love torturing my younger sister. Well, not so the two older sisters, right? And
mm-hmm.
so what she would do is there was a song. So the second older sister, there was a song that every time it came on, it made her think of like demons and the devil and stuff. So my older sister would play it on purpose to torture, and then crank it up as loud as she could, and then the other sister would just run around crying like, stop.
You know, what made me think of like, where do you think we get that? Is it because we don't really have any other way to make someone suffer? Like, okay, so like, okay, let me explain. So,
Please.
like, you're in the house with your siblings and they're doing annoying stuff, right? Or
Sure,
vice versa, whatever.
sure.
I'm just saying, like, how is it universal that all siblings typically torture the younger? Like, is it like because they're like, oh, here's someone smaller than me,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna do anything that I can.
I don't think it was necessarily intentional to make us suffer. I think they were just curious about things and was like, I wonder what happens if I do this.
Mm.
And then they would do it. And then of course the other person that's catching it, like, so my older sister, there was another thing that she used to like to do. She used to like to, when you were asleep, wake you up suddenly and then take your picture to see your reaction.
It's hilarious. God, if I could get a hold of those photos.
She did it mostly to my younger brother. She would do that. There's a couple of pictures on there where he has this weird, because he just woken
Oh,
up.
that's
She
the
would just like shake
best.
him and wake him up and then snap the
I'm gonna have
picture.
to try that on someone because that sounds like it would be an amazing photo. They probably wouldn't talk to me anymore, but
Probably not, but I don't know where she would get that. I guess again she was creative. Maybe she was bored. Again, this was before
yeah,
the internet. Now you can see that if you want to on the internet. Just go on
yeah.
TikTok and it'll keep you. But yeah, we would just do little things like that. The other thing that was also fun um, is we used to get creative with food.
Oh yeah.
So, we would get all the stuff that we're not supposed to eat. So
Mm-hmm.
again, you get like bread and you toast it, you put some honey on it, peanut butter,
Or cinnamon sugar with some butter.
all of that stuff. Because there was nobody there.
Yeah.
So who's gonna stop you?
We used to eat raw cake batter.
Oh,
Like,
really?
just like with the spatula eating
That's
it, we would just make the cake batter.
really?
Yeah,
And
and
then just start eating it like
uh-huh.
that? Was it gross? It sounds gross.
It probably is gross now, but back then, because I mean, like, we can't use the stove, right? So it's like if you wanted something sweet, well, we can mix everything, but
Yeah.
let's eat. Yeah, we did that a lot.
You know what we used to do too? Because we didn't have money at all, right? We were really poor. So we wanted lollipops. So we would always freeze like Kool-Aid.
On what? You just
We would
find a
just
random stick
Yeah, no, we didn't have sticks. Where am I gonna get a stick?
outside?
Well, no, but so we would do is just get like Kool-Aid, put it in a cup, and then put it in the freezer.
Uh-huh.
Or sometimes, and then you just eat it with a
I
spoon.
think we did that too with Crystal Light, where you kind of chop up the
Yeah,
top. It was like icy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah, we
eat
did
it.
that too.
Yeah, and we tried it a couple of times with like Coke, and then found out that sometimes that's not the best idea because
Mm,
it fizzles up or whatever.
yeah.
But yeah, we used to have to get creative on stuff
Yeah.
like that. The cake batter.
Saltines with mustard on it.
Oh, I
Yeah.
never ate that
Yeah.
before. Really?
Yeah.
What does that taste like? Good, like saltines and,
Yeah.
and this mustard.
I'm just thinking of little kid things that we ate when our parents were at work. Like I'm just going on the list now.
Yeah, and I would say that honestly, the relationship you have with your siblings, it's I don't know, it changes, it morphs as you get older,
Right.
right? Because you live with them, especially depending on how big of an age difference there is
Yeah.
between you guys. Because I know that so my younger brother, we're about 4 years apart, And then my youngest sister, we were about, I don't know, 10 maybe years apart. So there's a
Mm.
huge difference in
Yeah.
between there. I probably could have been a better older brother, to be honest with you. Like once you get into teenager years, I really didn't want to be bothered by anybody.
I think that's the sentiment of most teenagers. So don't
Yeah.
feel bad.
Yeah, because I do remember, again, we were always close when we were little. And then as soon as my sisters got into teenage years, they really didn't want me hanging around with them anymore.
Yeah.
At a certain point, they're like, you're the annoying little brother now. So I
Mm-hmm.
know what that feels like for sure. But they were my heroes. I'm like, oh, I want to hang out with you guys and stuff. But they were
Mm.
obviously going through a different phase in their life
Yeah.
where they want to be cool and the social pressures that people have. Like, you're
Yeah.
still hanging out with your younger brother. I don't know if it's like that anymore so much now, but I know back then, we didn't know any better.
Yeah.
We didn't have like readily available information like we do now.
Yeah.
But it morphs, and then obviously you eventually become adults, and then once you become adults, then the relationship really changes because even though they're younger than you, they're still adults, so you can't talk to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't tell them what to do. And
Right?
they
You
have to
can't.
do it.
Right?
You're
You can't tell them to shut
I'm
up.
gonna give you a knuckle sandwich if you don't do it.
Right? Right? You just can't. So it changes. It changes, and I with my older sisters, I do remember, when we became adults and just life in general, obviously we went in different paths.
Yeah.
And then whenever we would get back together again, like at family functions and stuff like that, it was interesting to talk to them because they were different.
Isn't that weird how like you're raised by the same people, but yet all the siblings are so different? It's strange.
It's very, very strange. It's because once the raising part is the fundamentals. And then once you get out in the real world, their experience is going to be different, right?
Right.
Because I don't know what it's like to be a woman. Never will be, right? I don't. I don't know what it's like to be a teenage girl. I'll never know what that's like. I don't know what it's like to be a mother, right? I'd give birth to somebody. I'll never know those things. You can describe them to me and you can put it in a book and all that, but I would never know. So it's different, right? And then even our viewpoints, because I do remember as adults, I remember having conversations with my sisters. Even to this day, our viewpoints do not align up.
Yeah.
We have different political perspectives and opinions, and our views on parenting is different. Like it runs all over the place.
It's
So
such a weird thing. It's like your friends, you look for people that have the same interests as you or kind of view the same, but with your family, it's like because you're born in this family, you can't not talk to them. Well, I guess you could, but like it's almost like a forced friend, really. Like, you know what I mean?
force friend.
Like,
Like coworkers.
like you have to go see them at family functions. Like that person,
Yeah.
Bob's always going to be there,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
Well, it was interesting because so the two older sisters that I have, I was really close, and then obviously when my brother was born, and then my other sister, I became close. But there was a time when it was just us three, and I'm sure there was a time when it was just them two.
Yeah.
So it's a different bond, right? And I'm sure she remembers probably when she was by herself, and but yeah, it's once you have that shared experience, it's different. It's different. That's why I'm saying it's a different relationship. Because once my brother got into it, it changed up the dynamics.
Yeah.
It's like if you watch a TV show and they introduce a new character, it's like, okay, now we have to readjust because there's a
Right.
new person now there. But yeah, and so I can tell you, so me being a middle child, that was also tough.
Do you have the typical middle child tendencies?
Yes,
Okay.
I do. I do. Well, the one tendency in particular is the independent part. Because I do remember when I was the youngest child, but I never felt like quote unquote the baby. I never felt like that. Probably because my mom just didn't really have time.
Yeah.
She was either working or doing stuff, so I was never really babied.
Yeah.
When my little brother was born, he probably was, and I'm assuming because it was our fourth child that she thought this is the last one. So I'm done, right? I got two older girls, I got two boys, I'm done, right? So she probably, because the baby, as a parent, I can tell you when you have the smallest child, you do tend to have a special affection for them, because you know that that's the last one.
Mm.
Like there's no more coming after that.
Yeah, I got to
So
get this one right
yeah,
because this is
well,
it.
if you're gonna spoil them or just shower them with affection, this is the last chance you're gonna get.
Mm.
Because until maybe perhaps grandchildren,
Mm-hmm.
but even then, they're eventually gonna get
So did your
older
mom
too.
shower your little brother thinking that was her last, and then your little sister came and she was like,
Yes, because my little sister was happened. So that was the other part is, and most families have this too. So my mother eventually got a divorce and remarried.
mm,
So she had my little sister, the youngest, with had a different father.
mm,
So she was technically my half sister.
mm,
I'm sure my mom did not expect that because she had her when she was well into her 30s,
mm.
which back then was not
Old.
common. No, not old.
Back then, 30s was like, whoa, you're
No,
old.
no, because she had to have been. Now that I think about it, maybe she was in her 40s. Now that I think about it, yeah, it was
Mm,
uncommon for her
yeah.
for women to have babies that late. I do
Yeah.
even now it'd still be considered uncommon.
I
But she
think
was a
we're
complete
waiting
surprise.
later and later now to have kids.
If there was one of these days, if they invent something where it could delay, um, the the baby stuff for women, I don't know, maybe like if there was a pause that you can do, right? Like
Like when you're a teenager?
no, like let's say you become an adult
Uh-huh.
and then, but because you only have certain amount of, you have a time clock, right?
Uh-huh.
If there's a way to like to push pause on it and save all those
Well,
for
they
like,
kind of do that when they freeze their eggs, though.
yeah, they kind of do it that way. So I guess that's a way to do it, but I wonder if they would ever be able to. Anyways, I'm sorry. I digress. I don't know why that came into my head. But nevertheless, so that's the story. So being a middle child, the older ones were going through stuff because they were teenagers.
Mm,
And the little ones needed more attention because they were little.
yeah.
So where did that leave the middle child?
Right.
So you kind of had to
Ignored.
fend pretty much, honestly. And so you become very independent and you learn how to just fend for yourself.
Mm,
And it's things that happen, within the family too, where my sisters ended up leaving the house a little earlier than most.
mm.
And so I was really by myself at that point. So yeah, the tendency of a middle child is being overlooked. But it's not too bad. It's not. But you see, I had a different pressure
Yeah, it
too.
has its perks
It
sometimes.
does, it does. But here's the other kind of pressure. So I'm Mexican, right? And in a Mexican family, the firstborn male, there's a lot of pressure that's put on the firstborn male.
Mm,
Like I don't know why. I have no earthly idea, but there is some sort of expectation of some sort for the oldest male child.
I'm not saying it's the same, but I feel like anytime you are the oldest male, or maybe if you're, well, I'm just thinking about like if you're a guy and then you have like three sisters, like you're carrying on the legacy. That's the big deal of carrying on the last name and things like that, keeping the name alive. So, but yeah,
Yeah, it's
I feel like it'd be the same for any culture.
yeah. I'm sure it is. But I can only speak to my experience, and there was a certain amount of pressure that I had. I don't know if it's to succeed or whatever, but I wasn't the first. I would imagine that the firstborn child always has that because you have to set the standard for everything
Mm.
else. You have to pave the way. You really do, and it's
You
kind
got to
of
break
it's
your parents in.
yeah, basically yes. Because I can tell you, I have two kids, and I've probably made more mistakes on the first one than I ever did on. I learned
Yeah.
on the second one not to do some of the things that I did on the first one. So
Yeah.
it is kind of a raw deal. And even when, like, let's say you get older and you have to do something and leave them alone,
Hmm.
you usually put the oldest in charge because the train of thought is they're smarter and more wise, but they're still children.
Yeah.
That's the
And
bad
not always
part.
the case.
Right. It's not. And that's the other dynamic within siblings. And I'm sure this happens a lot too, where the older one, because let's say they did look after the younger ones a little bit,
Hmm.
they almost feel a sense of, and I don't want to use, what's the right word? I wanted to say entitlement, but I don't want to say it that because there's some negative, um, things associated with entitlement, but they do feel like they do have a say in how you're being raised, right?
Mm.
Because it's like they've taken care of you, looked after you and so
Yeah.
forth. So when you do something wrong, they tend to get on you. And
Yeah.
sometimes the parents have to be like, hey, you're not their
Because
parent.
they
I'm
feel
their
it's their
parent.
responsibility to
Yes.
look out for their younger ones.
Yeah, responsibility, and I think that's where it comes. And even though they're not parents, though, so they're
Yeah.
not your parents, so they technically
It's like a 15-year-old telling a 13-year-old, like, look, I've lived my life. I know
exactly,
how to do this. You're like,
exactly,
no.
exactly. And you have to like ease up because it's like take it easy, guy. You know, like it's your little brother. You don't have to. It's not that serious. But I don't know where that comes from. Where they feel that responsibility that they should. And sometimes they genuinely trying to help, right?
Mm,
They've made mistakes. Let's say they've done something in high school and they're like, dude, don't do that, right? If you do that, that's just gonna mess you up for the rest of whatever. But
mm,
it's that's always weird with the siblings.
yeah. Mm.
But yeah, and then that's the other part is I do remember um whenever my sisters had went through any trauma, and when I say trauma like relationships and breakups and boyfriends, I
Uh-huh.
remember that, and oh my gosh, just
Did they
listen.
did they come to you like, why are guys such jerks?
No, no, they weren't talking to me, but you saw them depressed, listening to sad songs.
Oh, that's so sad.
And when you're young, right? So let's say I was 10 years old and my sisters were either, what, 14, and then the other one must have been like 18 or something like that. So, but when you're young, let's say 10 or younger,
Mm.
you don't know what's going
Yeah.
on. You
Why is
have,
Maria
yeah,
crying?
like what's wrong with you?
She's staring out the window at nothing.
Why is she so bleak? It's just like nothing matters and everything just sucks and
I
I
hate
hate, yeah.
everyone.
Like, what's wrong with her? Like, let's go outside and throw people around. I don't know. Like, what's serious? But it's different because you have no earthly idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
You'll find out. Don't get me wrong. You'll find out, but you just didn't know. And then looking back on it, I just thought, man, you're silly. You're just stupid.
I remember one time, and I won't say what it was because my brother might listen to this, but there was one time he was mad at his girlfriend or whoever it was. I don't know who he was dating at the time, but I walked in on his room and he was acting a little violent.
Oh
And
my.
I'm much younger than my brother. So I remember that scene and I'm like, what is going on now?
Was he
I
like
got
punching pillows and stuff?
Well, I won't say exactly what it
Okay.
was, but
Sorry. Okay.
I was just didn't understand why someone would be that angry to
Yeah.
like, I didn't get it.
Yeah. And what I know now that I didn't know before is obviously during teenage years, your hormones all over the place.
Oh, for sure.
So obviously I didn't, and even most people didn't know this is something that's just recently came out. We all know that teenagers are, bananas, but there's a reason for it. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
biological reason for it, which is their hormones are doing all kinds of crazy stuff. So
Yeah.
that's a very, what's the word? Very unique time in people's lives as
Yeah.
teenagers. You're going through puberty, you're learning about the birds and the bees and social norms and peer pressure. And yeah, it's just, I don't, if I were to go back in time, I wouldn't want to go back to that time.
Yeah, that part sucks.
It definitely does. But yeah, and then you get older with them and you kind of see why they are the way they are.
Mm. Did
Because
you know
again,
all the backstory?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. And I know probably more information than I needed to
Mm.
in some cases.
It's hard to keep things a secret when you live under one roof.
Very much
Like,
so. Very much so.
everybody kind of knows what's going on.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. Yeah, it's yes. And like I said, I was raised mostly women is what I was raised with. My stepdad, he married my mom when I was, I don't know, I think I was like 9 or 10 is
Mm.
when he came into the picture. But me and him really didn't have a lot of interactions when I was younger. It wasn't
Mm.
until I was older. But yeah, and then so I wasn't maybe the best big brother, but then I was a big to my little brother, but to my little sister, that was a different story.
Yeah.
It was a huge age gap between she and I treated her like any big brother would treat a little sister. I
Mm.
really genuinely cared for her and took care. I never thought that she was annoying. Never, you know what I mean? Because I was older and wiser by that point.
Yeah.
Like I can appreciate a little brother. I think
Yeah.
when you're little, you don't appreciate your siblings. but but yeah, I remember that was one of the coolest experiences is being an older brother to a little sister. And then when she got older, we would talk more about relationships, and that was kind of cool too.
Hmm.
Sometimes there were certain things I didn't want to know,
Yeah.
because I'm still
I'm still your brother.
I'm still your brother. I don't need to know everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then, without getting too whatever, right? When it comes to siblings, I can tell you right now that for whatever reason, my older sisters used to think that I was the spoiled one,
Mm.
and they were jealous that they thought that my mom favored me over them.
Did they ever say what it was?
Yes. And so the reason why they felt that way was because my mom grew up in Mexico. And so when you're thinking of somebody in that era, it's almost like when it comes to, they're like 50 or 60 years behind what the
Mm.
US is, right? In terms of tradition and things like that, right? So, back in the day, women, you'd want to keep them at home and like be, quote unquote decent. Again, this is
Mm-hmm.
kind of the train of thought. But your little boys, they can run around and be
Little hellions.
basically,
Yeah.
right? So they had more freedom. Like girls had to be proper, right? You
Mm.
have to be a proper young lady.
Yeah.
And boys, well, boys will be boys.
Right.
So from that aspect, yes, they felt like I was spoiled because I got away with more things. But it's not like she showered me with gifts or even like a ton of emotion or anything like that.
Yeah.
She loved us all as far as I was concerned. But they were jealous of the fact that I just could get away with a lot more than they
I
could.
could understand that.
No, you can't.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm at home and there's like a dance going on. And Mom, can I go to the dance? They're like, no. And then Jose runs out of the house. Bye. I'll see you at 12 midnight.
What's
Like,
wrong with that? I don't understand. What's the but that's what she knew, right? That was tradition. And then when
Mm.
you like I think any culture when they come over to the US, there's certain things that they can bring with,
Mhm.
but the US has a way of just growing on you. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like once you get here, you can sometimes hold on to certain traditions, but it's very difficult to hold on to them all.
Yeah.
And even at that, what I've noticed is it'll morph into something different. Like it gets Americanized.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get it, like, well, for Mexicans, right? We have a lot of cookouts and eat out and this, that, and the other. But it's now, and they still do that in Mexico, but it's different. I don't know how to explain it. It's
Mm.
just a different feel. But that's where it's coming from, and some of the
Mm.
food and tradition that comes over. So, anyways, that's why they felt like that I
Was
was being
she
favored.
evolved enough by the time your little sister came to that point? Did she let your little sister go out and do things?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah,
So
she had
she
changed.
learned, okay.
Hmm.
She got
Well,
Americanized.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Because by that point, by the time that happened, she had already been in this country for well over 30 years.
Mm.
So she understood. She might not have agreed with everything,
Yeah.
but she understood this is the way they are.
Yeah.
And also, like anything, like with family, there's always that feedback that you get. So I'm sure my sisters were, they told my mom,
Like,
and a
Mom,
lot of
you
that,
can't do that anymore.
yeah, a lot of it came out. A lot of the things that the way my mother was brought up later on in life, and was
Mm.
like, hey, I didn't like that you did this, which is, it's kind of good. It's hard as a parent.
Mm.
Because she didn't do it out of, she wasn't trying to be malicious. That's all she knew.
Yeah.
So sometimes people just don't understand that it's just the way they were raised. So what are you supposed to do? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like if I get married and I raise my kids that every Sunday we're having Sunday dinner,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what, and we're having Sunday dinner, Sunday dinner, Sunday dinner. When they get older and their kids don't want to have Sunday dinner, but that's a tradition,
Mm-hmm.
like you might not be able to do that. Maybe times change and Sunday dinners aren't a thing anymore. Maybe the
Yeah.
kids are like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I want? Why don't? It's like, what's
Well,
tradition?
that makes me think of remember back in the day, like in the 50s and all that, like you had family dinners at the table all together every night. That was like, but obviously we've moved way far from that. Now it's like one's eating pizza in their room, the other one's like, you know what I mean? Like it's not like that
Yeah,
anymore.
but it's again, it's tradition, it's culture, it's stuff that you bring up, and like, I don't know, it's interesting. I think about my kids, and if they ever have children, it's gonna look way different. Their parenting is gonna look way different than my parenting, as my parents were way different with me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting. But the other thing that I liked of it, here's the other advantage of having older siblings, especially if they're girls, is when their boyfriends would come over, I could always get whatever I wanted from the boyfriend.
Mm. What's something you'd ask for? Give me money.
I don't know if you've ever experienced anything like that, but I've done that for sure.
Oh.
So like I remember if they would come over and they had a car, I would be like, "Hey, can I go hang out in your car and listen to music?" That was a
Mm.
thing. I don't know if you've ever done that,
I did
but
that
that
in
was
my
a
parents' driveway.
yeah,
Not in anyone else's. Not, I didn't ask an older person, but like, yeah.
yeah. It was fun.
Yeah.
It
I
was
don't know why it
fun.
was so. Or if they had a truck, you lay the
Hmm.
truck bed down
Yeah,
and just listen to music.
just listen to music. I
Yeah.
don't know if kids do that no more. But now
I
everybody
doubt it.
brings speakers and stuff like
No,
that.
I seriously doubt kids are doing that
Yeah.
still. I don't know. Write in and let us know.
So you never did that with your siblings? You never took advantage of their boyfriends that got a little extra something money? Like, because I remember they used to take her out on dates too. And if I was, if I wanted a lollipop or an ice cream or something, I'd be like, "Can I have money?" And then of course they're like, "Yeah, here you go." Like I knew that they didn't want to, but they're
Mm.
trying to impress my sister.
Yeah, I
So
don't ever remember that happening to me. Maybe it did. I just don't remember. No,
it was one of the perks. It was
Mm,
definitely one of the
I was
perks.
not in the loop. I didn't know. I should have
Really?
asked for more.
Yeah, you should have got that. Like I
Yeah.
figured that one out really fast when my
Oh,
sisters were dating. Like, oh, I can get
I don't
stuff.
really remember my siblings having a lot of their boyfriends or girlfriends around me. I don't really remember that at all. Maybe a little bit, like from time to time. Like I remember going to my brother's girlfriend's house or whatever, but like, why would I be there?
Hmm. I don't know. Sometimes they would pick. I remember one time my sister, she had already moved out and she had a boyfriend or whatever, and they were living in a house. And I remember, I don't know why, but I might have asked her, like, "Can I come with you?" or something like
Mm,
that. And she was like, "Sure." And I remember going over her place, and I think he had video games and stuff like that. So that was cool.
yeah.
Just going over your sister's, place or whatever. Little things like that that I would take advantage of.
Mm. Yeah, I did not know about that one.
Yeah, it was I don't know, it was cool. Boyfriends. And again, that's the other part because you know all the boyfriends.
Mhm.
So if they're dating multiple people, you had to learn
It's
really
those
fast.
family secrets
You
that
got to keep it. You got to keep it quiet, bro. I
Mhm.
can't say anything because you're gonna spoil it for all of us.
Or you could what did you ever like threaten one sister? You'd be like, if you don't give me $1, I'm gonna
No,
tell like
no.
they may give you $1, they're gonna beat you when that other boyfriend leaves, get their dollar back.
no, no. I don't think. I'm trying to think. I was actually thinking about this the other day. I don't think I've ever really genuinely have ever threatened anybody. Like,
That's a good thing.
well, no, but I'm trying to think of if I've ever said something like, if you do this, I am going to blah, 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 blah. I don't think I've ever, I'm trying to think. I don't do well with like being threatened. So maybe that's why I've never
I'm
done it
sure
to
nobody
anybody.
does. No one's like, I love to be
No,
threatened.
but you know what I mean? Like it would probably infuriate me a little bit more, but no, I don't think I've ever done anything like that. The way I looked at it is every boyfriend was trying to impress her.
Mm,
So I was going to take full advantage of all of that.
that's smart.
Yeah. Because again, like going in their car, sometimes they would have, again, we were poor. So they might have like a tape collection of
Mm.
like some kick ass music, right? Some Def Leppard, Scorpions, some like, White Snake. And you just go in there and start jamming out to their music, man, and bring out all their cassettes or CDs. And it was just fun.
Mm.
Oh, it was so much fun. And again, you got to be in the car, so you're jamming out, and especially with the windows rolled down. Oh
Mm.
man, even just stationary was it's the best. Why don't we do that anymore? Everything's on digital.
You can go sit out in your truck. I have a neighbor that does that. He sits on in his truck typically, well, for sure every Friday night, but a lot of nights he will sit out there in his truck with it turned on with the radio like blasting, almost like he's having his own little party.
Mm.
And so sometimes when I come home late at night, there'll be something really good playing. I'll dance out in the
Oh
alley.
my gosh, doesn't that concern you a little bit? Because I would be a little bit like, why is he?
I don't know why he does that. I
He
don't think
obviously does not want to be inside.
yes. But I don't know why, and I don't want to
Well,
ask.
because nowadays, if I'm at home by myself, and I know I'm not the only one, but if I'm at home by myself, I'll crank up the music and
Yeah.
just jam out. And
Yeah.
because I'm in my home, right, nobody's going to hear it. So I will crank it up to the highest level that you can crank it up to
I
and
don't
just
know if
dance
he
like
lives
crazy.
alone because I've never seen anyone else come in or out of that home. But so
Wow. So
that's
you got a
the
Dahmer thing going on.
oh my god.
Oh, he doesn't want to go in there because of the stench. Oh, that's horrible. You got a Jeffrey Dahmer on your hands. You got a Jeffrey Dahmer. Please don't go out there when you hear the songs because it's not going to end well. What is he listening to? Marilyn Manson?
No, it'd be like TLC and like
Wow.
yeah, like good stuff. That's what I'm saying. I come home, I'm like, yeah, like, and I don't know, just a variety of
I wonder
stuff.
if maybe he has a good like speakers and like a good sound system in his car.
Yeah, but can you just buy that for your
I
home?
don't know. Like I said,
And
I love, just jamming at home, and you would be surprised
maybe
at some
he
of the
lives with a
music.
sibling and they're annoying and that's why he has to go
Maybe
out.
that's what it is too. Which that's the other thing. So I've never, aside from when I was younger, have never lived with a sibling as an adult,
Mm.
unless we lived under the same roof as
Is
my
that a
mother.
typical thing?
Sometimes I know my sisters have lived with one another
Oh,
for a while.
hmm.
I don't remember the exact circumstances, but they lived in the same
Interesting.
household as adults. But I've never lived with my like brother,
Hmm.
and would be like I got my house, and then when he got older, he got his own and stuff like that. Everybody got their own house actually. Um, so aside from them two older ones, they never really did that. But so here's another thing, another question, and I can answer it on my side. I don't know about you, and if you don't want to, it's quite all right. You don't have to. But I know that for like my brother, and I've never asked him, but obviously if they bring somebody home, so it's not like I want to get with them, but I just kind of sometimes wonder, like, But I'm trying to think if there's ever been a woman that my brother has brought home, and I thought, man, she's like super duper attractive. Not
Hmm.
like I want to get with her, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like you can still, because there's some women that he's come home with. Not all of them, right? I know he's listening, right? But I'm just saying, like, there's some women I was like, yeah, no, and I'm sure for me too that I've brought some women home, and he's like, yeah, I don't know what you're doing, brother.
Well, that'd be the same as like a friend seeing you with someone and they're like, why are you with that girl?
Right, but it's just sometimes it could be, I don't know, it's weird. It's
Mm.
weird cuz it's different, right? Again, we grew up in the same household, he and
Yeah.
I, but we have totally different tastes in women.
Mm.
And just being two males born in the same house and everything raised by the same people,
Yeah.
to have that that wide difference of
Yeah.
taste, it's amazing. So I don't know if you, and I never asked my sisters, but I wonder if, if one sister brought home a guy, if the other sister was like, oh, he's super duper hot.
I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. My
Uh
sister,
oh.
she was very into Western stuff. So she dated a lot of cowboys, which is, if anyone knows me, is not my thing. And it's fine if you like it, but I am not attracted to that kind of stuff.
The good old boys?
Yeah. I
Why
don't, it's just
not?
never been my thing. So she'd bring over a lot of country dudes and like, it's just not my thing. Like, I can't think of anyone that she brought home and I was like, wow, no, I can't.
So it kind of goes to the same thing though, because you guys were born in under the same roof. So
Yeah.
y'all, I wonder, have you ever asked her why she's attracted to
Well, she
to
liked all that
country guys?
stuff. So, like, she liked country music. She liked to raise animals. Like, she was in FFA, like all that kind of stuff. So, that's just
What's
what she,
FFA?
Future Farmers of America.
Ah, okay. See, I lived in the inner city,
Oh,
so
yeah.
we didn't have that.
Yeah.
We had
No, she,
NWA, but that's
yeah, it
different
was very
than
different than
very different.
NWA.
Yeah, very different than
No, but
FFA.
she just liked that kind of stuff. And so, obviously, she kind of
Well,
gravitated
if you
towards
were around that, why didn't you gravitate towards the country western look?
because I didn't hang around those type of people. No offense to
Well, but
those
no, no,
people,
no,
but
and I'm not trying to offend him. I'm
yeah.
just, everybody has their taste, but I'm just trying to see if I can figure this this out, right? Like, why is it that she gravitated towards that and you didn't? Because y'all were exposed to the same
Yeah, I
kind of
don't know.
thing. Okay,
I don't know. We
so
had totally.
boots, not so much. Wranglers.
No, I would never wear that. She did. There was a
Well,
time.
but you can still date somebody and not wear it, mind you. Like I've dated goth. We are talking
Uh-huh.
about that,
Uh-huh.
before, but there's now I don't know what they call them now, but goth.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't. dress, and I wasn't the same way.
Yeah,
I
but
can still
like
date
if
somebody like
you
that.
were attracted to a certain type of woman and
Hmm.
she was standing next to, maybe let's say it's the same woman, but the other woman is dressed completely in, like, she looks like a witch, like all black and a veil on her face and
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
wouldn't you gravitate more towards the one that you're attracted to?
sure.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just,
Yeah. All right. Well, again, I don't know. Like I said, I don't. Me and my brother have never really
mm,
had that. What's interesting though is because there was a time when we weren't. He was doing his thing, I was doing mine. But it still fascinates me to this day is that sometimes we'll catch up. He'll call me. We'll start talking, and we're pretty much almost identical in our viewpoint in a lot of things,
mm,
in a lot of things. So it's always interesting because I'm like, oh, I didn't know that you were like that, but it turns
yeah.
out we're almost identical in what we believe.
It's really an interesting situation if you think about it. It's the only relationship where you could literally see them from them being a baby all the way up to the adult part, right? So, like, if I'm looking at my siblings, it's like, yeah, I remember all these things from when you're really little,
Yeah,
but there's no other relationship where you would have that. Even
right.
if you got married really young and you were married till you both died of old age, but still, you're still not going to have that. It's very
We wither
unique.
and die. Yeah, no, it is. It is. Well, depending on, right? If you're the oldest sibling,
Yeah.
then you're going to see all of them
Yeah.
grow up from, being, babies and toddlers to adulthood,
Yeah.
depending on how far apart you are. But yeah, absolutely.
So I wonder if, like, my older siblings, when they talk to me, if they can still see me as a little kid, like as they're talking to me, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, do they view me as the little kid that I was?
I can still see my siblings as teenagers and or younger
But is that what
kids.
you were thinking of when you're just having a normal conversation with them?
No, it's only when I think about them
Mm,
and I'm not doing anything in particular and I'm just reminiscing about whatever.
yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when she was young and she thought that looked good on her. And that was just a horrible dress. And, like it was just, yeah, or black fingernail polish. Don't get
Mm.
me wrong, I'm not going there, but back then it was just like, come on, you're not.
Back then it was taboo. Now it's like glamorous.
That and haircuts, by the way. That's another one where you could just bust out laughing. If you ever look at somebody's old pictures and they had like the most
Dude,
jacked
old
up,
school pictures are like
yes,
the
yes,
best.
where they thought, let me get my hair really short and that was
Mm,
going to be a good thing. And it's like, nope.
yeah.
My sister did that one time. I don't know what, she got a wild hair and she decided, I'm going to chop it all off. So she just chopped it all off.
Hmm.
And then you see a bunch of pictures of her with the short hair and it looks horrible. But
She
she was a
wanted to, a
trooper.
lot of, back then, a lot of girls wanted to do the Demi Moore ghost haircut. I
Yeah.
think it was a lot of that.
Maybe that's
I
what
don't
it
know if that she
was.
was going for it, but I mean, that was a big thing.
Well, who knows, man? But yeah, yeah, you see things like that. Um, but yeah, the it's the only time that I would ever see that what you were talking about earlier is I have childhood friends that I met when I was 9. That's the only caveat or the only exception to that is I've seen them when they were little.
Mm,
I've seen them when they were 9 years old. Now I've seen them as grown men.
yeah.
They have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, but you didn't live with them. So there's
No,
there's a
no.
totally different
But I
bond.
did like we hung out quite a bit. But I could still, even though I didn't see the evolution of how they grew up, right? Because I wasn't in their home
Hmm.
all the time. It's still funny to see like the way they look like when they were kids versus how they look like adults,
Yeah.
and that's always tripped me out. So, but and I don't want to get too morbid here, but like I was telling you before, when you do have siblings, right? One of the siblings is gonna go to all the other siblings' funeral,
Mm,
and one of them is not.
yeah.
So the reason I say that is because I've had two sisters pass away. My older sister passed away, and my youngest sister passed away. And so those two were, they were pretty tough. But we had the best relationship, with
Mm,
all my brothers and sisters. We don't get me wrong, we've had our disagreements and we've had our fights, but I still, if I were to recap it, it was all good times. It
yeah.
really was. And a lot of the shared experiences when you're little, when you get older, you appreciate a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always love there. It's like we went through that together. We were poor together. We all the stupid things that we mentioned earlier, the honey and the sandwiches and things
Yeah.
like that. Bologna. We used to eat a lot of bologna because
Syrup sandwiches.
yeah, syrup sandwich. Have you never had a syrup
No,
sandwich?
yeah, that's
It's
what
the
I'm saying. We had
best.
honey sandwiches too.
It's the best. You know what we used to do too? Just a quick thing. I used to take milk, right? Make chocolate milk out of it, and then just dunk my bread in there. I don't know if
Oh, oh my God.
it's the best. Have you never done that
That
before?
sounds
It
disgusting.
is not. It is so good. So like you make chocolate milk, right?
Yeah, I
And then you just
understand
get a
the
piece of
concept. It
it,
just
just dunk it.
sounds.
Oh, it's so good. All the chocolate milk soaks into the bread, and then it's almost like eating bread pudding
You know what
almost.
my mom used to eat? This is a Southern thing. I don't know if anyone in your family eats this, but she would make cornbread and put it in a cup and then pour buttermilk on top of it and eat it with a spoon.
I've never heard of that.
It's a Southern thing, but it's so
Is it?
gross. It made me think of that when you said the bread thing.
I'm trying to think if I've ever had buttermilk by itself. I don't know what it tastes like. What does buttermilk taste like?
Sour.
Is it?
Yeah. But
Okay.
my mom,
Well, then
yeah,
why do they
she,
call it buttermilk? Because I think buttery. That's when I think of buttermilk. I think buttery, but it's not buttery. It's sour.
I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm asking genuinely. I really don't know. I've
I'm
never.
just saying, I've never seen anyone else pour buttermilk on top of cornbread and eat it with a spoon other than my mother, but it is a Southern thing.
Did any of your other siblings pick up that?
Not that I can recall. I don't know. Write in and let me know. Text me. I didn't eat that. That just looks
No.
gross. No, but you doing that, dipping it is the same thing as that soggy bread and
It's
then the piece
but
falls off and
it's
then no,
that is
that's terrible.
so good. And if you can get the bread right when it's a little drier, because it'll soak up all the chocolate milk.
Uh-huh.
That was the other thing. My sister, and she's probably gonna kill me for telling me, but she used to always have this thing when she was a baby, up until she was maybe like 10 or something. But she would always want milk in the middle of the night. She would
Hmm.
wake up specifically and go bother my mom and say, I want milk. So my mom used to just get a cup of milk and
Uh-huh.
put it next to the nightstand. It's like when you wake up, here's your milk,
I
drink
feel
it
like I've
in the
seen that in a
nightstand.
movie or something.
Yeah, I don't know where she got that from, but she always needed milk in the middle of the night.
Yeah, I've seen it in movies. People will get up if like they can't sleep and they'll heat up some milk on the stove and drink that and try to go back to bed. I've
Yeah.
never done that in my
Supposedly
entire
it
life.
works.
I
Supposedly it
guess
works.
I've never done that. But
Supposedly it works. But yeah, again, when a sibling passes, that's another part of life that you just have to deal with. And it's hard, right? Like you said, they're they're your siblings and you
yeah,
kind of take it for granted. Like most people do, right? The people that are around you, and then all of a sudden they're just gone. And you're
yeah,
just like, oh no, you know what I mean? They both of them. It's always I've been unfortunate where it's always been sudden. So it's not like we
yeah,
knew or we could prepare for it. Not that it would be any easier,
yeah.
but
I think it hurts a little bit more when it's sudden because you can't prepare yourself. It's not like they were sick and
yeah, you're just going about your day and you're just rocking and rolling. Then all of a sudden, like your whole world changes, and you're like, okay, that is something that you got to deal with. But that's a fact of life for everybody, right? Whether it's friends or family, that's just going to happen. But when my oldest sister passed away, that was rough. Again, she was the oldest one, but she was still relatively young.
yeah,
And then the youngest one, that was also kind of tripped out. So the ones that are left, again, we do our best, but you know how life is.
yeah.
You can't get together as often as you once did. So, and I don't do tattoos. And I don't know if you know this, but I don't do tattoos, but I do jewelry. So, with my jewelry, with my bracelets,
Hmm.
so I carry three, and it symbolizes all three of my sisters. And then typically rings, I'll try to wear two rings. And again, it's for me and my brother. So
It's nice.
if you ever wonder about my jewelry,
I have not, but thank you for sharing.
yeah, because I don't have any tattoos, so I know that's the other thing that to pay tribute.
Mm,
Because I've had friends and they've had siblings pass away too, and
mm.
they'll usually put like tattoos on
Yeah.
their names or their faces and stuff like that. And I don't do tattoos, so I can't do that. So I figured, this is my only way of doing it. But yeah, it's always interesting, like you said, to watch them from being young to when they go into adulthood, like what that looks like. It's like, huh. Yeah, I never thought my brother would be as do as well as he has, because there he went through a rough patch. He was pretty wild when he was a teenager. He was super wild. I mean, he did some stuff even I was shocked,
Mm.
and yet he has his own home. He's got a good gig. He's got his family. He does his whole thing, but I would have never, if you would have asked me when he was a teenager, I was like, nah, that dude's going to prison or something. I had this big deal of my brother, but like it was pretty rough there for a while.
Mm.
And, seeing him now, it's different. It's way
Did you
different.
try to scold him back then, or you just didn't?
I did. But the problem was, again, I wasn't a very good brother. I should have been a lot better, but he used to do things. He used to take my car, take my clothes and stuff like that. So at a certain point, I started getting really, really more and more upset with him.
Mm.
And then there was a point in time where he just wasn't listening to anybody. And like
Yeah.
I said, I had my own stuff going on, so
Yeah.
I had time to do
Ain't
all
nobody got
that.
time for that.
But I once dated a girl, and she said that she dated a dude, and then that they broke up. They didn't date long, but they broke up, and then he ended up dating her sister, and then they got married.
That's weird.
I mean, yeah.
Like, were they a child, like a childhood thing, or they're both adults when they dated this
I
guy?
think they were. So the one that I was dating
Well,
was the older one.
I'm getting my point is was he intimate with both?
Oh, I think so. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird.
But is it like
Yes.
I wonder how often that happens though. Because it would stand to reason that you would be attracted to whatever your sibling brings home, because I'm just assuming you have the same DNA, so you would be attracted to the same thing. I don't know. So it's not too far
So
fetched.
saying that every guy I was with must be attracted to my sister as well
No, no,
because
no, no, not necessarily. I'm just saying. Um, well, I don't know. I guess if you guys looked alike, then depending on how similar you look, it wouldn't be far
people
fetched.
say we look very similar. So
So yeah. And then the answer to that is, why wouldn't you? If I'm dating a girl and I think she's super attractive and her sister looks just like her or very similar to her, why would I not be attracted to her? I mean, right? They're gonna have different personalities, so that might change to whether or not I like them. But like looks wise, yeah.
I don't think I've been attracted to any of my boyfriend's brothers.
Did they look alike though? Because if
I
they
mean,
look,
some of them have you have features but they don't look like twins. I've never dated twins. Maybe that would be really
that would
weird.
be really
Write in,
cool.
let us know. Here's the thing, 214@gmail.com.
But and I always wondered about that, dating twins, because
Yeah.
like if you're a twin, let's say you're a twin female,
Uh-huh.
and I'm dating one of the twins, and another dude is dating another twin,
Uh-huh.
like they look exactly alike, so you still be attracted to the sister because they look
Yeah.
identical. How can you not?
I don't know.
That would be interesting. And what if, what if you know how couples are, you go around and you smack them on the butt. What if you smack the wrong one on the butt?
You better know what the butt looks like, the one that owns.
They look the same. They have the same
Their butt may not be exactly the
No,
same.
it's going to look exactly the same. You can't fault me for smacking the wrong butt at that point.
Yeah. I wonder what that's like the sibling relationship. I wonder. I'd be
It's
curious
got
to
to be
find.
awesome.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to be. I wish I was a twin, to be honest with you.
I don't want to be a twin, but I would be interested to hear from any twins out there, like their experiences.
I would have loved to have been a twin. To have a twin, identical twin, what? Like that is awesome, because
No.
they sync up and they usually can finish each other's sentences and they
Yeah.
know exactly what they're thinking, and they dress alike.
It would feel weird. It would feel like you're not authentic because you're like basically the same person as over here.
No, I don't see
I'm just
that.
saying that's what I would feel. That's why I don't want to be a twin.
I would feel like, oh my gosh, there's another one of me out there.
Oh my God. The narcissistic approach.
But you see sometimes in twins, they date two totally different people too.
I've heard twins date twin brothers too.
That would be
Like
awesome
two sets of
too,
twins.
right? That would be cool.
That would be weird.
Why would that be weird?
Because when you go out on a double date, that would look really weird.
That would look awesome. That would look awesome. If I was a twin and could date another twin, Oh my
Twinning.
God. Because then that's when personality comes out at
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah.
Your DNA is the same, but like, one of them can be the evil twin.
Oh.
But yeah. So this was today's episode. I just wanted to talk a little bit about siblings because we do relationships. You know,
It's a
I thought it was
very
important.
important relationship in someone's life if you have a sibling. It's a big deal.
It is, and I've also seen it even from my mom's dynamic. Like she's close to her, uncles and aunts and stuff for me, right? But her brothers and sisters, and that's always kind of cool to watch too.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we get it, the learned behaviors. Like,
Yeah.
okay, because she would tell me stories about when they were kids, and they weren't always nice stories.
Yeah.
But you get older and you kind of appreciate a little bit more because it's like, as you get older, you start losing more and more people. So
Yeah.
you have to cherish the relationships that you have. And again, you can't hold them. Like just because my sisters threw me down or beat me up or whatever they did, I can't hold that against them now. Like
Yeah.
they were kids. We were all kids.
Yeah, we all laugh about it now.
Yeah, it's funny now, but at the time, boy, I was really.
I remember
ticked
one
off.
time my brother made popcorn and he thought it would be funny to lift up my shirt to expose my stomach and put the hot bag of popcorn right on my stomach.
Oh my gosh. Conceptually, I'm laughing. I'm just thinking, like, I'm sorry.
Saying we could laugh about it now that we're all adults, but yeah.
Did you get in trouble with your parents?
I'm sure. Well, I don't know. Maybe that was the time we were latchkeying or something. I don't remember exactly, but there's certain moments that I remember. Like I said, my brother was much older than me, so I was tortured a lot. But my mother has 3 older sisters, and it was just the 4 of them growing up, and it's kind of cool to see their dynamic because they are very close, but they're so different.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy how different they are, but they have that sister bond, and it's kind of cool to see.
They do. So, but anyways, this was fun.
Yeah, it was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll try different relationships at a later time. But as always, I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
All right, until next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.